have to read. Hey now, just listen and see. Hey now, it's time for us to go to the Sunday paper show.
Read all about it. Read all about it.
Jesus.
Hot off the presses. Ink is still wet. Inhale it. Get a little high so you can deal with the fact that we're back in the Paris Accord. Wait till you see Family Circus. Read all about it.
Oh, my God. It's digital. It's a digital format.
Huh.
All right.
Speaking of which, do you have a paper for us to crinkle this week?
You kidding me? Everyone's loving the crinkles.
They love the crinkles.
I said like an old, effeminate man.
Somebody recommended that we call our listeners the newsboys.
Nope.
Nope.
What would we call our listeners? Few and far between. That's one way to. That's one thing to call them.
People that don't buy our ads.
Yeah.
People that don't go to the
overly amped up on minutia and corrections.
Yeah.
No, is this a way to start the podcast?
No, it's not. Here's how we start the podcast. Welcome.
They are a loyal
welcome to the show.
Is what they are.
We're in this nice non-political period of Trump's gone. He's been silenced by social media.
Now you're political.
We've got a new candidate who's milquetoast, but he's doing nothing he didn't say he would do. So there's no pushback yet. I mean, you're seeing the beginnings of it, but there's nothing substantial. The news I can relax. I feel like this. Do you feel it? Do you feel peaceful?
I don't know. Not when you bring this stuff up. Did you freeze?
No, I don't know what you mean.
I don't mean your Zoom. I meant you. You literally froze.
I'm saying positive.
I know. I don't like all the positive talk. It's also political to bring this up. It's like you're rubbing it in their face. I don't know. Who cares? It's so broken. Everything's broken.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're going to fix it. Democracy in the world. That was in the news this week. Just like there's suffering everywhere. Yeah. And I don't know, man. It really brings us back. And I know it wasn't the only thing that talked about it, but that documentary, on Netflix, The Social Dilemma, and many others have said the same, and many have written the same thing. But it's like, it's a really hard thing to undo, the divisiveness that has been, sort of sown.
It's really like a virus. It feels like we have been infected with something that we need to get rid of, but we don't have an antidote. There's no way to put the genie back in the bottle in terms of fake news coming out of everywhere and people subscribing to it. And again, I always go back to this. There used to be Channel 2, 4, and 7 had news at 6 o'clock at night. Everybody watched it, and those were the facts that we all worked off of. And now people are completely separate in their bubbles, and you can't argue with people anymore because they're drawing from a different well than you as far as facts.
I was reading this financial guy because I thought, oh man, maybe I should research a little before we pick our stocks or whatever. So this super smart guy, all financial people know him, I guess Felix Zuloff, I think. Anyway, he was just like, did this interview. And one of the questions was, you have called the European Monetary Union the biggest mistake of the century. Why, right? So anyway, he goes on, but in it, his answer was, to rebalance the imbalances, the EU has weakened the stronger members. It hasn't, let me see if I'm reading the right thing. Europe will continue to integrate, and economic growth and prosperity will continue to decline. Far in the future, there will be a major revolt of the people against the elites. Don't count on Europe to launch any big growth agenda. It won't work. Whoa, holy shit.
Wow. Yeah. Why wouldn't there be revolution? I mean, it's been well documented. When the haves end up with a disproportionate amount of money, eventually people wake up and they say, fuck this, and they take to the streets.
But you know what's interesting, and it really helped me, I think I might have said this last week, but is the right's anger and feelings of disenfranchisement and all that stuff. It's, listen, the left, obviously, they don't like this, the talking point that they keep repeating, which is cancel culture, which can also be called accountability culture, but whatever. But a huge, I think, thing that's generating it is the same thing that's making me furious, which is this this unfair bully system of the super rich, and that Washington, just Democrats and Republicans. Listen, America has one political system. Go to any other country, you'll see most countries, you'll see more than one political system. We are capitalism. That's fucking it.
Yeah.
And there's two parties that each compete to see who does it worse.
Right.
And what's going on is this, it's like, hey, here's your corporate bailouts from 2000. Not only does no one get in trouble, but here are loans you don't even have to pay back. And then one side is going to use the socialism as a bad name, and actually they're the ones who bail out corporate America the most. Whatever. We can go on and on. I actually was trying to make a point that I think both sides are closer than they realize in terms of what is really at the root of our frustration.
I think so too. And I think if we had, maybe one of the solutions is you have some town halls that aren't politicians that are trying to play to a base or kowtow to the religious right or the woke liberals, and are just talking, intellectuals, having town halls, dissecting issues so that Americans can look at them and go, oh, health insurance for all? Yeah, I guess that does make sense. When you look at the defense budget versus what we're really spending to help the social fabric of our own country.
What? Yeah, I don't know.
Or any other issue. I mean, just let's go back to when it was. Who were the two guys? They did a documentary on HBO about was it Jimmy Breslin and
Pete Hamill.
And Pete Hamill, like just intellectuals breaking it down without them being tied to anything.
Yeah.
Except facts.
Imagine. Yeah, no, it's bad. I don't know. I don't know why Jeff Bezos wouldn't go down in history, wouldn't want to go down. All of a sudden he puts, this incredibly inflated share price, and he's back to being the richest man alive. Why wouldn't it be like, hey, everyone on my team, you're going to get the best healthcare. In fact, no deductibles, and everyone's going to get paid way above minimum wage, and everyone's going to be taken care of. Like, why wouldn't he go down and here's a guy who tried to set an example, and now it's hard for Apple not to follow, and hard for others. Never mind. How about paying taxes?
Yeah. All right. Let's get to it.
COVID
I thought
shots.
It was
over. Thought the podcast was over. I'm done.
I think a lot of people are. A lot of people right now are listening to Mark Maron's podcast. Want to find out what's going on with his cat.
Speaking of that, you want me to tell a quick story about my dad and the dog?
Oh, you told me. This is the greatest.
So, anyway, my stepmother died very sadly a couple of weeks ago, and
what do you mean very sad? Is there a time when it's not very sadly? My stepmother died very happily. No, it's always sadly.
I don't know. Step relatives are tricky.
Yeah, that's true. I mean? It could be.
So I wanted to add that it wasn't a phew, finally, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, whatever. So they had a dog, long time, like 2006 or something like that. And anyway, it was pretty weak. It was really by her side the whole time, this little lap dog thing, but real comfort. And my dad was very attached to it too. So my stepmother does. Now the dog is really coughing a lot and also depressed, I think, because he doesn't know. Dad takes it to the vet. Vet's kind of like, according to my dad, by the way, he said, the vet said, your dog's suffering and, you could put it down and all this. So he thinks about it. And meanwhile, I'm like, Dad, the optics on this aren't very good if you just kill your dog, without involving, Jenny and Jeff, who are my stepbrother and stepsister, her children. And, because it was her dog. And so anyway, fast forwarding, moving the story along a little bit, he then and all of a sudden gets the approval from the family. So he takes it, then schedules it, to put down the dog. And, my sister and I are like, and, he's all alone now. And the dog is the only thing with him at this point as he's going through all this stuff. So we're like, hey, listen, we're here. We'll call you tomorrow. He's like, all right, no, it's, I'll let you know. I don't know what time I'm bringing in. He said midday. So he brings the dog in. So now he's on the phone with us after it. I'm like, hey, how did it go? He's like, it went all right. He's like, but a little weird. He's like, I was in the parking lot and I dropped off the dog and the vet invited me in. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, the vet's like, well, do you want to be there? And he's like, what? He's like, that's crazy. What? Who would want to do? That's so sad. Who would want to do that? I just handed it to her and drove off.
Yeah,
I'm like,
who would want to hold him and stroke him and comfort him?
I'm like, I go, it's kind of a popular thing to do. Like, in fact, I've never heard of what you did. So we then move on, and my dad well, but the listeners should know he's like a crazy type A personality. Doesn't need to set an alarm clock. It's 5-something a.m. every day. Run. And, and I definitely have probably formed a lot of my personality in resistance to that. So
and you've done well. You've really done well to counter all that.
I think I have. He just moves. He's optimistic, and he just keeps moving forward nonstop. I can't even relate. So later in that same telephone call, I go, all right, well, and how are things? We had moved on and covered a lot of ground. I'm like, all right, well, you're doing all right though. And Joe, he's like, yeah, we're trying to sell. I'm trying to sell the house. A lot of packing. Took care of Kent earlier. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you can refer to it. It's not check little to-do list.
Crossed it off.
Yeah. So it just made me think of like, what have I forgotten about my childhood? Can you imagine getting hurt and looking for comfort from this guy or anything?
Drop Mike off at the doctor's office. Check.
Yeah.
Played some golf. Came back. Picked him up.
Yeah. Son's high school grades are so gave up on the son. Check. Moving on.
Oh God, got divorced. Check. Got it.
Yeah. Totally.
How long was it between when he divorced your mom and when he married Cynthia?
Oh no, a long time.
Was it?
It was divorce was kindergarten. This is how I remember it. Kindergarten, and marriage was 6th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Respectful.
Yeah.
Aaron's dad and his new wife, about a week and a half.
Well, often there's overlap.
Yeah, I don't know. Who am I to say? He died. When he died, they did.
You have an irresponsible podcast. Go for it.
He was the super hippie. He was one of the original hippies. He walked the walk. He was a guy who wrote a lot of books about, how capitalism is destroying the environment, and he knew Castro. Fucking knew. Anyway, when he died, they did a biodegradable funeral where they put him. They didn't put any of the chemicals in him. None of that formaldehyde or whatever.
Right.
Put him in a fucking wicker basket, filled it with flowers. We walked into the woods, threw him in a fucking hole in the woods. Somebody was playing a ukulele. A couple barefoot hippies were playing bongos. We said goodbye, and that was it.
I hope you burned some of those people, too.
We got out of there before the coyotes got in there and had a nice meal. Nice.
Yeah. Why didn't they set them on fire out here in California in the thick woods by the giant sequoias? That would have been so lovely. Half of the state on fire.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Are we going to do the podcast today?
Well, should we talk about people tried to get COVID? Our friends were all rallying trying to get COVID shots because we had a friend of ours, Dennis Gibbons, who has a little free time on his hands, went out and he managed to find the overflow spot where they give the COVID shots. Is it Pfizer where if they're not frozen, they go bad? So by the end of the day, they basically will give it to anybody who lines up.
We should probably just not even say because we don't know.
So anyway, he managed to get that and the second shot. So then everybody, including yourself, jumped on board. There's a Facebook page dedicated to chasing it down in L.A.
Yeah, I did not jump on board because he already has his second. Like, so he did this a long time ago, shared his experience that, listen, he waited online like 5 hours or something, and he goes, but then he got it, and it was because they had to go through them. So they have it, as you said, a standby line. So I actually didn't move on it because I was mixed on it. I also thought this would be better run and that there was a pipeline. It turns out there isn't.
Not this week because the snowstorm.
No, but there isn't a significant enough pipeline anyway. I mean, they had to close Dodger Stadium way before the cold weather.
Go Dodgers.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a huge problem, and I don't know when. I couldn't even guess when I'll wind up getting.
Hey man, I'm a frontline worker. I got fucking tour dates coming up at the end of March and April, and I need to get this shit.
I agree with it. The good news is though, your wife is double vaxxed now.
Wife's got 2, son's got 2, daughter will be getting it soon because she works in a daycare center.
Yeah, God, she should have already gotten it.
I know. They had they've only shut down. She's been there throughout the pandemic, and they shut down in, I think, June for about 2 weeks, and then they shut down for a week a few weeks ago. Otherwise, they've been clear. The parents drop the kids off up front. They take the temperature. Everything's wiped down constantly. Everybody wears masks, and somehow it hasn't hit them. You know, it just goes to show you, kids may not be carriers the way adults are.
Right. Maybe. Well, yeah, they're talking about opening the lower grades.
And Mexicans.
Oh, boy. All right.
So, all right, let's get to shout out to David Chamberlain, who is a friend of the show. And his company is Record LA. If you ever need any sound work done, support him as he supports the show. Love that song today, the Hey Now song.
Yeah.
The logo was done by, let's see, who did the logo?
That's well done logo.
It's pretty sweet. I think I think people are going to be a fan of that when it comes up. Hold on, I'm just pulling up who did it. It was GS Artworks is the company that did that one.
Oh, nice.
Should we get to some corrections?
Let's do it.
All right, last week one of our big stories was about the Florida man who made a guitar out of his uncle's skeleton. Apparently, the guitarist bears a striking resemblance to a known local prankster. So this guy calls himself Prince Midnight, and 2 Tampa reporters have questioned the story's veracity, noting Midnight looks an awful lot like a local punk rocker performance artist who's got a penchant. Penchant or penchant?
I think you should stick with penchant.
Penchant. So we can get another correction next week?
Yeah, please.
I think, look, I took French for 7 fucking years. I can say penchant.
Well, this is the thing. If you have enough confidence and you just keep going with penchant, you may change the pronunciation just in your little, among your neighbors maybe.
I also said, and I got shit for this, denouement.
Yeah.
No, I said denouement instead of denouement.
Huh.
How do you say it?
You do have a penchant for mispronunciation. What was it? You also
Oh, here we
pronunciation?
go. Yeah. Not so fucking sharp.
Pronunciation? Whatever. You mispronounced that too.
I should also give a shout out to our friends over at C3 Custom Golf, Cameron Lee, who sent me and my son these very expensive putters. He restores golf equipment, and then he made these custom-made. That's a ball.
Look at that
fixer. That's your ball mark fixer.
Does he have a little golf bag? You dragged me out on the golf course this week.
Oh yeah, you need a golf bag. Maybe he can send us a golf bag. Yeah, that was fun. Gibbs, you were not bad. You're not a bad golfer for somebody that hasn't played much.
Played much. I've never even owned a club, but no. So I'm going to try. I'm not going to hide behind the one shot every 6 is good because I'm hiding behind my not trying and not playing. So I'll
you mean
try
like
my
your
hardest.
stand-up comedy?
Which slaughters, but I do lower the bar. You're right. I do. It's the easiest art form in the world. So anyway, send me. no one send me something they use their own money on. But if this guy's restoring things and he wants a shout out and it's not free, yeah, send me a free bag, I guess. Because I have clubs that our friend Matt Malloy found in his alley being thrown out, and they seem to work 1/6 of the time.
They're nice clubs. He actually hooked you up.
Yeah.
Fitzdog, I've heard you tell the big mouth story about the voice actor Jenny Slate stepping away from doing the voice of Missy. This was because we talked about this because the character is half black, half Jewish, and even though she's half Jewish, or maybe all Jewish, she stepped away because she wasn't half black, and I kind of recoiled at that. But after some review by the creators, they realized it was okay. The fans all reached out to say the same. Jenny is a voice talent genius. I agree 1,000%. So I'm glad it went that way. She also does voices for Bob's Burgers and was a big part of the Kroll Show. She did a stand-up special. Wasn't great. It's not an easy art form.
They are acting. They are playing. This is full disclosure. They're playing someone they're not.
Yes. In fact, yes. Although my friend is working on a show right now that is about people that are on the spectrum, that have intellectual disabilities, and the actors all have intellectual disabilities. And Mike, your joke is...
I want them to let some intellectual disability people write the show also.
Well, you know, if you're on the spectrum, they'll probably write 1,400-page scripts.
Oh,
single-spaced.
Please. You don't think Bob Dylan and Woody Allen and other monster prolific people are on the spectrum? You're crazy.
You're right.
Another word we can't use. Hey, by the way, no, my joke about because it was just in a script of mine about intellectual disability is what it's called.
Yeah.
They try so hard with these new terms because mental disability or mentally handicapped, whatever it is of course verboten now. Verboten.
I think it's verboten, Mike.
I think it is. I have a penchant to say verboten. So, but intellectual disability sounds like you have trouble understanding James Joyce. It's like, all right, well, I'm completely intellectually disabled.
Right. Yeah, I've never really gotten Nietzsche. I've tried, but I'm disabled.
Absolutely. We're going to put you in the class with in more of the other like-minded intellectually disabled.
A guy with a pen name of Holden Caulfield said Mario Lopez was not in or on the Musketeers. Well, that's a fucking shock to me because if there was ever a soulless, stunted, childlike adult, it's Mario Lopez. Or
I think
is it
Timberlake
Mario?
was, right?
Who was? Justin Timberlake? Yeah.
They were all... Lopez was a kind of a child actor, though, for sure.
He was. He was on... what was the show? It wasn't Full House. It was...
And I never saw it. Yeah, with...
Who's the Boss or Head of the Class? I think it was Head of the Class.
Yeah.
Oh, Saved by the Bell. Chris Denman, who watched it because I think it was produced by the KKK. Bad joke.
I didn't know they had such a big hit in their library. The
Saved by the
KKK.
Bell was on for a lot of fucking years. Jesus.
You know, that was one I've never seen a single episode on, and it's not like I avoided it and I'm bragging. I honestly never crossed paths with it.
I would see it, and my thumb would get, you know how like when you see a car coming at you, you have an adrenaline rush and you dive out of the way? When I would see that show on the air, my thumb would get the same kind of an adrenaline rush to hit the arrow to go to the next channel.
I like it. When was it on? When we were in high school? 80s?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I didn't...
No, he's it apparently ran for 4 seasons from 89 to 93.
Oh.
So when we were graduating college.
Oh, yeah. We were running around New York. It was amazing. We were social. I didn't watch... Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We're also too old for that BS.
Dan Rubin wants to call Mike out for in reference to Woody Allen. I love that he's bringing up Deconstructing Harry and bringing some attention to this underrated comedy masterpiece.
It's so good.
But your continued referencing that it wasn't appreciated at the time because it was released just after Woody and Mia had their blowout was too close to home is incorrect. I believe you're actually thinking of Husbands and Wives, which came out in 92, a mere few months after their aforementioned blowout, and was in fact awkwardly very close to home. So there you go.
Okay, so Dan's right. Good call, except I know what my confusion was. What happened was he married Soon Yi in 97.
Oh, I see.
Right when it came out. And that was a, holy shit, that fucker's doubling down.
Yeah.
So you sent me there's a review in the Los Angeles Times that this woman wrote about the documentary series, which airs tonight on HBO, called Allen versus Farrow. It's a 4-part series documenting the accusation of sexual abuse against Woody Allen. And I became kind of angry. Now, admittedly, I have a bias.
Yeah, you like pedophilia.
Right. If it's gentle,
Yeah,
they're kids. They're
right.
kids.
If it's the kind of thing they can suppress, and you know the kind you can suppress versus having to live with.
Right. And listen, for a lot of these kids, it's their first time.
Right.
So you have to keep that in mind.
All right, we should stop now.
Okay. So anyway, it's getting a lot of flack from real critics worth their salt for being very one-sided. It only talks to the family members, like Ronan, Mia Farrow, and of course the daughter who claims the abuse, and I think other family members. And it does not talk to any of the other family members, including Woody Allen and the other child. I think it was formerly Satchel. I forget. I can't keep all the children. I can't remember. I can't keep them straight. Anyway, it doesn't talk to any of them. Yes, they requested to talk to them. But as a reviewer, listen, fine. If the documentary is one-sided, hey, listen, that's the documentary. Like I read this stupid quote by the woman who the two people who made the documentary. One's a woman. She goes, everyone's bringing up what about the other side? Did you ask the other side? And it's like, hey, listen, if there's a car crash, do you have to ask the other side who ran into the car? Do you have to ask them about it? And I'm like, what? Yes, if this is a documentary and there's doubt about if the other car hit the car, yes, you fucking do.
Yeah.
What an idiot. So it's up to critics to call this out. And this woman just went along with it. And after you sent me that, I actually wrote a letter to the LA Times.
Really?
I kept it short. It was like 6 or 7 sentences, a typical little blurb that you see. And just wondering, she didn't call out any of the biases. And so listen, here are just some facts. These are just facts, okay? These aren't my opinions. And the New York Times broke down a chronology that, and I'll just read some here. Mia and Woody met in 79. In 82, they started their thing. 85, she adopted. But here's the relevant parts. In December 1991, Woody Allen begins his affair with Mia Farrow's 21-year-old daughter, Soon Yi. A lot of people have that wrong. They think she was a teenager or younger and all this. The affair began in December 1991. By the way, totally fucked up that he does that. Okay?
Well,
totally.
My question is, how well did he know her as a child? Was he very involved with Mia during the years when Soon Yi was like a child?
No.
Because I think that's another thing that people believe. And I've heard that he barely knew her.
Well, he's always said he did not want children. He never, ever, not once, slept at Mia Farrow's house.
He lived on one side of Central Park. She lived on the other side, and he would cross the park every night, hang out, and then go back to his own house and masturbate thinking about young Asian girls.
A lot of people on Fifth Avenue do that, by the way. He always said he didn't want children and would not be a part of raising, she wanted to adopt them, but he would then legally adopt some. All right, I guess we do have to read some of the, in 1977, Mia Farrow and her husband, Andre Previn, adopted Soon-Yi, who is believed to be around 7 years old. That was in 1977. Woody meets her 2 years later, 1979, meets Mia. The couple's first movie together, blah, 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 blah. 1985, Mia adopts baby girl Dylan Farrow, who was born in Texas. We'll get to Texas later. 1987, Miss Farrow and Alan have a son, Ronan Farrow. Miss Farrow suggests in a 2013 interview, you know what, Frank Sinatra may be the dad. That's sweet. In December 1991...
Well, she had no choice. The child looked like fucking Frank Sinatra.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
December 1991, Mr. Allen adopts Dylan Farrow and Moses Farrow, one of Miss Farrow's sons, who she adopted 11 years earlier in 1980. Mr. Allen, who is 56, begins an affair with Miss Farrow's 21-year-old daughter, Soon-Yi. Now, they were not close at all, and then when she went to college, they started to go to Knick games together, I believe, is how it started. He would bring Soon-Yi to Knick games. And then it grew, I believe, is both sides, I think, tell that story. Okay, you ready? January, which is a month later, of 92, Miss Farrow discovers the nude photographs of Soon-Yi in Mr. Allen's apartment. August of 92, so later that year.
Wait, were they together at this point? They were not together at this point. What was she doing at his apartment?
Who?
Mia.
That's a good question. I don't know, but she's over there. I mean, they share, in a way, they share all these kids.
So they're on good terms at this point.
I think they were on good terms when he found the photograph, when she found the photograph, and probably was cheating on her. Again, I am not defending dating Soon-Yi. It's a lunacy. Anyway, 8 months later, August 1992, with the affair between Mr. Allen and Miss Previn, Soon-Yi, continuing, Miss Farrow calls Susan Coates, a psychologist who had been helping the family, and describes Mr. Allen as, quote, satanic and evil, and begs her to, quote, find a way to stop him. She also sent I think that Valentine's, I guess it was like right sometime that year, a heart with a knife through it. Mia sent that to Woody. And so this psychiatrist also was advising Woody as well that you have to be careful for your safety.
Yeah.
Mia Farrow was so angry and kind of unhinged about this. And then in August...
And she may still be in touch with some of Sinatra's cohorts.
So August 1st, she begs the therapist. Begs is a technical word that, like, they quoted, to find a way to stop him. 3 days later, Dylan Farrow, according to Mia, accuses Woody Allen of touching her inappropriately and gives an interview. Let's see. The next day, Casey Pascal, a friend of Miss Farrow, tells Dylan's babysitter described observing Mr. Allen in a position with Dylan that seemed inappropriate. Miss Farrow calls Dr. Coates, the psychologist, same one, and says Dylan has complained that Mr. Allen has abused her. A major question later considered in court was whether Miss Farrow had coached her daughter during this period. According to later court testimony by Dr. Coates, she is struck by Miss Farrow's calm during the call as opposed to her agitated state 3 days earlier.
You know what? I respect her. If I was a woman and I found out that my ex was fucking my daughter, I would do every trickery available to me. I would make shit up. I would hire somebody. I would destroy this person. If I found naked photos of my daughter in my ex's house, it's scorched earth policy. That's what I would do.
But wait, scorched earth. But Greg, you do not have a penchant for implanting false abuse memories.
Oh, yeah,
allegedly.
That's true. Yeah, that's pretty hardcore.
You would do that to a child?
No,
hey,
I wouldn't do
Daddy
that.
touched your labia and genitalia?
Yeah, that's true. That's wrong.
Labia is a quote from her later when she's interviewed.
It's labia.
Now, it's actually in the documentary now, I believe.
Called labia because it's like the waiting area before you go in.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Do they have Wi-Fi in the labia? Anyway, it goes on from there, but a lot of people do not know that timeline.
Yeah. All right.
And
do you want to read the rest of the Wikipedia entry, or should we move on to another correction?
it's the New York Times.
All right, so people can watch this special. Watch it because we'll probably talk about it for 4 weeks because we're both big Woody Allen fans. I think he's, top 3 directors in history, and a brilliant fucking comedian and writer and all that. And I think this bears sussing out and showing both sides of, which we'll do over the next 4 weeks.
All right, good pod. Take it, Aish.
Quick correction from Corey S., who said Madonna's Super Bowl halftime show, she was 54, not 40-something. Wow.
And Woody
even
Allen
more.
had not touched her.
That's right. Douglas A. Hoffman, Esquire. He had to put Esquire at the end of his name. That's kind of pretentious, isn't it? To put ESQ
I don't know.
at the end of your name.
I'm going to start. Can I legally just put that there?
That would be fucking hilarious. I'm doing that from now on. I'm putting ESQ after my name every time I write it. Greg, you massacred the parable of the talents on last week's show. First off, it is in the New Testament, not the Old Testament. And it is not about a father and 3 sons, but a man and his 3 servants. And he didn't give them each the same amount. One got 5 talents, coins. The second got 2 talents, and the third got only 1. The first 2 servants invested and doubled their money. But the third servant knew the master was a hard man, harvesting where he did not sow and gathering where he had not scattered seed. So the third servant buried his 1 talent and returned it, only to be, quote, thrown into darkness where there would be weeping and the gnashing of teeth. That does sound Old Testament-y. The Old Testament was fucking hard. It was a Tarantino movie. There were gnashing of teeth when you fucked up.
Right. All right. So chalk one up for the Jewish lawyer about the Bible.
All right, that's it. Quick tour dates: Raleigh, North Carolina, good nights on March 25th through 27th.
Oh, boy.
Philadelphia at the Helium Comedy Club, April 22nd through 24. San Francisco Punchline, April 29th through May 1st. Get all tickets at fitzdog.com. Should we do the front page?
Extra! Extra! Read all about it! Extra!
Oh, boy. I'm going to get a newspaper.
Here we go.
Ready? Here we go. There it is.
All right. Texas, front page this week. A lot of talk about Texas. Let's see. You want to read this, Mike?
Sure thing. More than 4 million households in Texas were without electricity this week. So we've all know this story, so we don't have to go into reading a lot of details. But I love this. This is what the Washington Post, quote, rich in both fossil fuels and self-confidence. I'm sorry.
That's a great
I'm a
first
journalist.
line.
I'm
Yeah.
a journalist. I write that line. I am fucking going home.
Yeah.
I cannot, nothing that's written after that can top that opener, man.
Now, that's a 3 martini lunch and some Nintendo when you get home. That's all you can do for the rest of that day.
And I'm not cherry picking. That is how it started. Rich in both fossil fuels and self-confidence, Texas had long been devoted to its singular power grid, rejecting federal electricity regulation and the kinds of shared high voltage connections with neighboring states that can be found across most of the country. Warnings over decades that confidence in the grid was misplaced were ignored by top officials. In 1989, punishing cold weather that caused power failures across the state led to a federal study that spelled out how to avoid such a disaster in the future by winterizing equipment the way more northern power companies do. But
Well,
go ahead. I mean, I can't.
Look, I know where you're going with this, and I think that this is a time, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, let's not politicize everything. Let's talk about the fact that AOC, who they fucking hate, did an online fundraiser for Texas and raised $2 million. Beto O'Rourke was manning phones for fucking a week straight, helping people out. This isn't about You know, when we had wildfires, the Republicans fucking danced on the rooftops, and they blamed us for not sweeping up our brush. A bunch of insane accusations that were all trying to make us look bad. I'm
Trump
not going to
withheld
sit
money
here
initially, blamed it on us. And then, by the way, not only is that just third grade, but was also wrong. He was pointing to federal.
That was federal land he was talking about. Exactly. 70% of the forest land that was on fire was federal land, not California regulated land.
Oh my God. And by the way, Biden immediately, and the governor of Texas thanked Biden publicly right away, immediately opened up funds for them to the state that drove his tour bus off the highway.
Right. And California was starved of federal funds while trying to put out those forest fires.
So I just wanted to do a little, in the spirit of bringing the country together and all this, just a little fuck Texas.
Oh,
honestly,
on, Mike. Come on.
Go fuck yourselves.
Oh, that's harsh.
And I'm talking to the Texans. Listen, if you tell Los Angeles to go fuck itself, and you're telling it to because it's the most self-centered city that is truly obsessed with self and is out of touch and is running wild with political correctness, you know what? Count me in to that newsletter. I live in LA, but you know what? I can recognize and admit, and I'm big enough not to get injured by an accurate assessment. But honestly, Texas, what's with all the inflated pride? Are they unaware of like the humble confidence?
It's a bit
unaware
much.
of like the humble confidence versus insecure pride? Why are they so threatened? Is it because they're a Mexican afterthought? Is that what also spikes their prejudice against Mexico? And all their racism against Mexicans because they were Mexico before an imaginary line was drawn? And then they prefer to be the fucking boast that they're the Lone Star. And then when they join the union, they're like, you know what? Yeah, you know the 50 stars? No, we're different than all the 50. We're the Lone Star. We're sticking with the Lone Star fucking ethos.
Yeah, and you know what? They're going to go down hard when this country switches over to off of fossil fuels. That's Texas's whole economy. They got beef and they got gas.
Okay, so here, getting back to the news. The mayor of Colorado City, he quit this week. Why? Well, his Facebook post didn't go over so hot when the electricity thing went down earlier this week. Listen to what this Texas mayor said when the emergency went down. And I am quoting. No one owes you or your family anything, nor is it the local government's responsibility to support you during trying times like this. Sink or swim, it's your choice. The city and county, along with power providers or any other service, owes you, all caps, nothing, exclamation point. I'm sick and tired of people looking for a damn handout, exclamation point. If you don't have electricity, you step up and come up with a game plan to keep your family warm and safe. If you have no water, you deal without and think outside the box to survive and supply water to your family. If you were sitting at home in the cold because you have no power and you are sitting there waiting for someone to come rescue you because you're lazy, Y-O-U-R, is direct result, by the way, tons of typos in here, is a direct result of your raising, exclamation point. Only the strong will survive and the weak will perish. Folks, God has given us the tools to support ourselves in times like this. This is sadly a product of socialist government where they feed people to believe that the few work and others will become dependent for handouts. Am I sorry that you were having, it's almost done, but it is fucking worth it. Am I sorry that you have been dealing without electricity and water? Yes, but I'll be damned if I'm going to provide for anyone that is capable of doing it themselves. We have lost sight of those in need and those that take advantage of the system and mesh them into one group. 2 exclamation points. Bottom line, quit crying and looking for a handout. Get off your ass and take care of your own family. This is as his people in his town are dying.
Did he write this from Texas or from Cancun?
We'll get to that.
How about a fundraiser for this guy's kids? Because they are the most fucked up human beings in the country right now. Can you imagine being raised by a man with that mindset? He had to be a shit parent.
By the way, imagine him running like, I don't know, like a barbecue place. Like, what do you expect me to give you food? Well, yeah, I did pay. I paid you for the service, which is food. Now you're complaining and you want a handout?
Yeah. I'd
like the food I bought. I'd like the heat I bought.
Yeah. Right. And I'd love to see his promises on the campaign trail. Somebody should dig up some of his quotes talking about how he's going to help the voters and smash that together with this tweet. Was that a tweet, by the way?
Apparently they said he must have had a generator to go on Facebook, and that's where he wrote that.
Okay,
so that's a small town mayor, okay? That might seem unfair to pick him. Why don't we go up the chain a lot?
Let's go to the Senate.
Not yet, not even. We're going to stop at governor first.
Okay.
Greg Abbott. What's the first thing this leader of the great state of Texas and the people there representing them, what did he do? He immediately went on Fox News with his victimhood and lied and finger-pointed and, of course, politicized the crisis. He blamed the frozen windmills and the Green New Deal.
And by the way, the photo that they used of the windmills being frozen, not from Texas. They were stock photos from, like, Norway.
You weak man. You are knowingly lying and pointing the finger when your residents are suffering to avoid blame and to even take on forward-looking responsibility.
Yeah. Now,
okay.
Yeah, all right, go ahead. You're on a roll.
Not really. Now, let's go to the Texan. Let's go to the senator. Let's go above the governor to the senator. He and Ted Cruz, this perfect piece of shit, initially defended it as taking care of his family like, quote, every Texan. Really? I don't think every Texan took care of their family that way. And he said he lied and said he planned all along to accompany his kids to Cancun. Again, he's using his kids in his defense. He initially said he took his kids to Cancun to drop them off and return home. Sadly, he had already stated the opposite, that he was staying through the weekend. Yeah. So he went on Hannity again and lied.
Yeah.
And then they caught his wife in group messages that were public telling everyone, we're getting out of here. The house is freezing. Come down to Mexico with us.
Wow.
Not only that, the piece of shit with his two kids, he also sends his kids to this elitist private school. Doesn't believe in the public school system in Texas. Sends them to this elitist private school, which has a policy. If you are traveling and come back in the country, you have to quarantine for like 10 days. And because they're back in person, they don't have virtual classes. So that's cool. And this school has erupted, by the way, because they're like, the laws and rules don't apply to Ted Cruz in Ted Cruz's mind. Yeah. So he was going to come back here from his, come Sunday when he was going to stay there and he was going to put his kids right back in the school.
Yep. Right. No rules. It's the but you think about how fast a politician can go down with an act like this. Like, think about Gavin Newsom in California. They are going to recall his governorship mostly because they saw him eating in a restaurant during quarantine. I mean, people that really know politics are upset about how he's dealt with the coronavirus, that it's been kind of splotchy with opening and closing things. But that image of him at the laundromat restaurant in San Francisco is sinking his entire fucking governorship. And it's the same thing with Tom Cruise. Ted Cruz will go down because of this. But by the way, they say
I guess the Daily Show, go look it up. They put together a reel of all the times his favorite thing to do was condemn other politicians. He would show a picture of Obama playing billiards.
Yeah.
And he went off on it. Like, how can he do that while the real people are suffering?
Right.
A fucking billiards game. And then, of course, all he talked about was Obama with golf. Honestly, do you want to measure Obama's golf against Bush's fucking weed whacking or whatever he would do, brush clearing in Texas, or especially Trump's golf?
Yeah, not even close.
So anyway, this is the last thing. It can't even be called an apology because there was no apology. When he tried to fess up totally, the last thing he goes, look, This is Ted Cruz. Look, it was obviously a mistake, he told TV cameras waiting for him when he hastily returned. In hindsight, I wouldn't have done it. Should have ended it there, you fucking piece of shit. Doesn't end it there. In hindsight, I wouldn't have done it. I was trying to be a dad. What a true piece of garbage.
Yeah.
Again, but fucking your kids. So really your kids should apologize? That's basically what you're saying.
And also, if you want to be a good dad, be a role model. Keep them home. Get a fucking shovel. Go shovel a neighbor's driveway out because you've been given so much. Watch your father step up and be a leader, which he has sacrificed so much in terms of not being at your school play or your birthday party because he's out campaigning. But there's a higher goal, which is I'm helping my constituents. Nope. Gonna take you to fucking Cancun.
Even do the fucking weak ass thing of a photo op holding a shovel or some shit.
Yeah. Right.
Honestly, go in a family's house where their sink is frozen over. It looks like Iceland. At least do that, because even that symbolic thing, which most people can see through, does help other people.
I think
we're
it's
not
actually
alone.
Greenland.
People haven't forgotten about us.
Greenland is the cold one.
What?
Everybody says Iceland, but it's actually Greenland that's really cold.
I'll wait for all the corrections. And by the way, Texas, calm the fuck down. Most of you, especially listening to this podcast, if you're from there, are like-minded. You're self-critical, as I said up top. This isn't aimed at you. It's aimed at that distorted sense of pride, that misguidedness. I don't know what it is about that threatened culture down there that they have to do that. But Agatha Christie, great quote, a weak man in a corner is more dangerous than a strong man.
There you go. The other correction was, speaking of snow. Oh, no, this is a front.
We're not
correction.
on correction.
No, we're in
still.
front page.
That was
Speaking
a good
of
podcast.
Snow,
Take
the
it
next
easy.
story. Give me a crinkle. Give me a goddamn crinkle. Toro is recalling around 6,700 snowblowers because of the amputation hazard.
I hope they are big sellers in Texas.
It has to do with that rotating corkscrew-like device that scoops the snow up and heaves it through the discharge chute. So it just doesn't stop. If something goes in there, it doesn't stop. Honey, thanks for doing you got the snow out of the driveway. Can you get rid of the blood?
Wait, what Toro model is this? Is this the Fargo? Why did we get the Fargo snowblower?
You're going to love this story, Mike. Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, wait, hold on. Is this a paper? There we go.
The buyer of a Pennsylvania home that served as a filming location for Buffalo Bill's house in Silence of the Lambs is now being converted into a bed and breakfast.
Brilliant idea.
Chris Rowan said he is filling the house with memorabilia from the Silence of the Lambs and doing renovations to make some of the inside match the interior shots that were filmed on a soundstage. Rowan said the renovations include digging a basement to resemble the open one seen in the film, as the actual house does not have a basement at all. Well,
There's
I'll tell
no
you,
basement at the Alamo.
if they want to really match his I have a white dog, they can fucking have it. This thing.
You saw the memes this week about Ted Cruz's dog?
Yeah. Those are
Being
hilarious.
the Silence of the Lambs dog?
Yeah.
And by the way, they did leave their dog there. And, of course, everyone went crazy, like the dog's going to freeze to death and die. No, the dog is totally being taken care of by a security guard who sits in an SUV in the driveway.
No shit.
Not joking about that. Yep.
Wow. With the fucking engine running all day.
Of course. He'd freeze to death.
Yeah. Do you want to spend the weekend at the house? I mean, if you've seen the movie, how do you fucking sleep in that house?
Okay. So, our friend Tom O'Neill with Chaos, he talked about, did he ever tell you, share those disturbing details? They're not in his book, that he learned about that when the crime scene was taped off on,
This is the Manson murders.
At the Manson house, right? The Manson murders at the Tate house. I forget what drive it is, but everyone kind of knows it. It's and it's up in the hills. And it was in, Tarantino's movie. When it was taped off and there was still blood, there was a murder scene, there were some Hollywood guys who would pay the guard there to go in and have sex in the crime scene.
No shit.
Now,
Wow.
I don't know how true that is, but I can't make that up. So what I'm saying is that is a bona fide rumor, and I think Tom was told that by people who would know. Now, were they making it up? I don't know. But there's probably a catchy little name for it of this sort of morbid tourism.
Yeah.
Morbism? I
Yeah.
don't know what, I'm trying to make one up. But there's probably something where, there's tourism for all sorts of niche things, you know what I mean? Like obviously there's tourism for, famous sites from movies and all that stuff. So this makes total sense. And did you see, it came out on Netflix last week. Have you seen Crime Scene on Netflix yet?
No.
It's about the Cecil Hotel downtown.
Oh, yeah. You talked about it last week a little bit.
A lot of murders in there. And then a famous case of an Asian woman from Canada who disappeared. And all the conspiracy theories because they had footage of her acting weird in the elevator and everything. And they accused a musician of killing her who was staying in the hotel. But anyway, that's become a big place to go stay.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Tom
what
O'Neill
about-
actually wants to throw his birthday party there.
What about the Shining Hotel in Portland? We've both been there.
Yep.
It's people go there all the time, and I think you can get a room and have sex there. The did you see
Yeah, it's a hotel.
Did you see Night Stalker?
Yes.
About the serial murderer up there in California, and all these goth chicks that showed up to the trial that all wanted to have his baby.
Totally.
That was crazy.
And by the way, he used to stay in the Cecil after he would kill someone.
No.
The documentary talks about it. He would rinse off, he'd have blood on him and stuff, and he would go and he would stay there. And I guess it's a fact that he would stay there during that time.
Damn. That's
Yep.
awesome. Give me a crinkle, Mike.
Oh, jeez.
All right, you wanna read this one?
What paper is this? The Dallas Morning Star. Go fuck yourself. Oh, dark tourism. Who just wrote that on there? Chris?
Yeah.
Netflix has a show called Dark Tourist. Thank you, Chris, for hopping off your fucking sending everything I just said to Texas to start a revolution on your fucking dark net.
Oh yeah,
All right.
he's building an army against you right now.
I love these stories. I'm going to keep putting them in every week. Sex robot. The sex robot, by the way, this is the quoting. The sex robot says, machines will quote, do you have to quote? Yeah, I guess we quote robots now. Will take over the world after her AI is turned up. A sex robot said that machines are going to take over the world after her personality was cranked up to, quote, maximum realism.
She sounds like my wife.
Harmony also has the robot's Harmony also has a mood system which users influence indirectly. If no one interacts with her for days, she will act gloomy.
Oh shit.
Likewise, if you insult her, as McMullen demonstrates, I guess a guy in this story, he called Harmony ugly and stupid, to which she responded, I'll remember you said that when the robots take over the world. Okay, even if that's a joke,
Whoa.
does the robot know it's a joke?
The robot doesn't. You may set the. It's like when you talk to Siri. Sometimes you say, Siri, am I beautiful? And Siri will say something cute and funny about you're the most beautiful person I've ever. Whatever. That stays in there. That goes into the software, and they learn it. They are, if you're gonna fuck her, and all of a sudden you're just gonna hear a scissor sound while your penis is inside of her.
You won't even hear it coming. I mean,
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And by the way, they're not. I don't think robots and AI are so hot on sarcasm.
Right.
Like imagine I have a robot, a live-in robot. It just brought me my coffee. Everything's great. It doesn't matter if it's a he or she. It's so weird to even talk about it. First of all, you have to ask the robot what pronoun they use. You have to do that now with AI. And they have to be in the mood to talk to you. So My AI robot comes, serves coffee and all that, and all of a sudden I look down at, I don't know, a Woody Allen review or a fucking Texas story, and I'm like, kill me. Not gonna be saying that.
Right.
Not gonna be saying that about my robot.
Right. Yeah.
With the robot listening.
Yeah, you drop something, you go, God, I could kill myself. She just starts moving towards you.
Yeah, I can help with that, sir. Yeah.
Isn't this the opposite of why you build a sex robot? Don't you want her to have no feelings?
Yeah. It's like my little Roomba, right? It's like it doesn't feel like vacuuming. I don't give a shit. That's why I have you.
Yeah. Do you want your self-driving
to
Tesla to drive into a fucking tree because you got upset that the acceleration wasn't fast enough?
Yeah. I want you to pay me, and I also want you to make a little effort at speaking Spanish. I already have that. That's why I got you.
Let's go around the world, Mike. Let's get international.
Here we go. You know, Dallas is a very international city. I can do it. All right, go ahead. Paris, Texas.
Huge story this week. Joe Biden has officially rejoined the Paris Agreement, fulfilling a campaign promise that he initiated on his very first day in office. It's an international agreement among nearly 200 nations to combat climate change, committed to keep global warming below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. I think Trump got us out of it because he didn't understand what Celsius meant. Under the Obama administration, the U.S. was one of the lead negotiators of the agreement. Former President Trump announced in June 2017 that the U.S. would withdraw from it. I think he would withdraw. I think he's famous for withdrawing early from things. During his campaign, Biden set up a goal of ensuring that the U.S. achieves net zero emissions by 2050.
That's soon.
That's soon. I mean,
net zero?
Net
Wow.
zero, which means every house has solar panels or is living off windmills, and every car is electric. Look, I was over.
By the way, it doesn't mean that. There could be tons of polluters, but there has to be more that are offsetting it.
Right.
That's the net zero part.
Yeah, I remember hearing who got shit about having Warren Buffett, not Warren Buffett, Bill Gates got shit because he's such a climate activist, but he also owns like 4 jets and he's got like 12 cars, and he got shit about it. And he goes, yes, but my carbon footprint is net zero because I've spent millions of dollars doing positive things for the environment.
Right.
Little sketchy.
It's not bad.
I was at the Dunskies last night. I didn't realize they have solar panels and an electric car, so they don't pay for any electricity in their house or any gas for their car. And that's not a huge leap anymore. I mean, there are companies that will install solar panels into your house and charge you not a ton of money, and you make that money back within like 3 or 4 years from not paying any electric bills in your house.
All right, easy. Are they a sponsor? Are we wetting our beaks on this at all?
My nephew is working for one of these companies, and he's trying to talk us into doing it to our house.
Well, you just have to crunch. It's very easy to crunch the numbers on when you would break even. It's not very easy. It's very easy once you have the data to put into that equation.
Right, and then you actually can make money because the extra energy can get sold back to the electric company.
Goes right back out onto the grid.
Right.
Yep. But yeah, obviously the more things you're using, like your car and all that, that'll definitely help you.
But I didn't realize this because, Cass Donovan has an electric car, and she's working at, we live in Venice, and she works at Universal on this TV show. The car supposedly can go 26 miles on a charge, and she can...
it has to be more than that.
That's what she said.
All right, go ahead.
Because it's not fully electric. It runs on just electricity until the electricity is used up, and then it reverts to the gas engine after that.
Are you talking about their little Beamer?
No, the other one.
Oh, okay.
And no, because the Beamer is...
It's electric with a pretty good range, but it has like 1 gallon of gas or something.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, she told me that when she goes to work, she has to plug the car in to get it home, but it costs her $2.20 to get the charge, which is more money than it would cost for the gas. So you're really doing it for the environment. You're not doing it to save money.
By the way, I don't think it's more money than the gas.
I did not realize these chargers cost money. Because I've never used one. I just assumed they were free.
Most don't.
Oh.
Do you ever see the people reading newspapers at the Whole Foods parking lot, sitting in their car charging?
Never seen that.
Yep. You know, there's a lot of chargers at Whole Foods, of course.
And I'm sure they're
Texas
super fast
company.
ones. Because she charges, hers takes 8 hours because she doesn't have the supercharger, whatever. She uses just a regular, power source from the house, and it takes like 8 hours. But if you get the supercharger, I think you can do it in like an hour.
And they're putting, I think Tesla started putting solar panels on the car, but
Oh no shit.
Yeah, but it couldn't get enough, so it would do things. I think it would try to power the AC, although the AC is a very big electricity culprit. But when you're sitting on the 101, man, baking, they should have more solar panels, and obviously they're getting more and more efficient.
Right.
Getting back to this Biden thing, though, net zero emissions by 2050. And of course, Biden would be like, I didn't write anything for this, but it's like, mark my words and call me out on it in 2050 if I'm wrong.
He will be 80.
20 years dead?
110 years old.
He'll at least be dead for 20 years.
Yeah. Here, about recycling, give me a crinkle.
Speaking of recycling and multi-use repurposing.
That's right. Employees at a recycling center in England came to the rescue when a man accidentally dropped his wedding ring into a sorting container. James Ross was dropping off some cardboard, and his ring fell off and vanished into the depths of the container. He alerted nearby employees. The machine was shut down, and 4 workers climbed inside to search. This was like all covered in fucking goop and garbage. He said it was like searching for a needle in a haystack, huge mound of waste to search through. We're about to give up when I spotted it. My wife was over the moon. She thought I was making up an elaborate story.
So does everyone.
Fuck you, whore. Who is she? I mean, that's the thing is I would never marry a British woman.
Oh, please. I think this guy lied. By the way, I did lose my wedding ring twice. So the third one was the one I was wearing when I got divorced. There's a lot in there, a lot to unpack.
She could tell things weren't going well because you bought the last one you got out of a Jiffy Pop box.
I told you. The second one, I had them recreate the inscription, which was the date of it. And the third one, nothing, no inscription. It's fine. But if I lost it, I don't know, cheating or whatever it was, I'd be like, first call to you. Listen, go fucking find a wedding band. I don't care if it's whatever. Go put it by lifeguard stand 25 in the sand right behind the back post. Just do it. And then I come in. I lost it on the beach. It's a needle in a haystack. Let's go try.
Yeah. And then go find it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
With her.
No, it's the best cover for a trip to the strip club of all time. They should have a thing when you go to a strip club. You know how you have to leave your gun outside a nightclub when you go in?
Yeah.
Or like cops have to leave their gun outside the metal detector when they go to court. They should have a box for wedding rings when you walk into a strip club.
Not only does it kind of hurt emotionally when you see your ring as you're getting a lap dance, but it hurts your finger a little when you're grabbing her hips so tightly.
Does gold hold the smell of perfume? Wow, that your ring is really glittering. Yeah, it is lately, honey. I don't know what it is. I gave it a wash.
I want it to stand out more, so I put a little glitter on it.
It's time for Florida, man. Time for Florida, man.
That's a good crinkle right there.
Here we go.
All right. 2 Floridians attempted to get second doses of the COVID-19 vaccine by dressing as elderly women. When I saw that headline, I was so hoping it was men.
Yes, I know.
Or that guitarist prankster from up above. By the way, getting back to that for a second. Who cares if it's a prank? It's still like the guy made a. That's a Florida man story. Guy decides to prank everybody by making a real guitar with a skeleton.
Right.
That did happen.
Right.
It's even stupider than maybe the real story. All right. The women came to the vaccination site wearing bonnets, gloves, and, you know, as you would do in Florida, and glasses in an attempt to receive their vaccines. Dr. Raul Pino said during a press conference. Anyway, according to the sheriff's office, the women were 44 and 34. Health officials did not know how the women were able to get their first vaccine shots and whether they had dressed up then as well. Yeah, I don't get, is the second shot not guaranteed in Florida?
Yeah, I thought once you got the first one, you automatically got the second one. I think
Maybe they weren't trying to scam. Maybe that's their thing.
What's with the bonnets? Were they disguising themselves as women from the 1800s? No, we're really old. We should get this. They pulled up on a stagecoach.
Yeah. Do you have anything for my rheumatism?
Do you have the flesh from the horse that has the vaccine in it?
Where are your elixirs on your cart with the horse?
And will you be giving me leeches as well?
Oh,
I wonder
man.
what they dressed as the first time to get the shot.
I know, right. Exactly.
Good one. Good Florida, man. Entertainment. We got a lot to talk about in entertainment.
Florida women, but they were masquerading. All right, here we go. Oh, entertainment. Let's do it.
I have been watching a show with my wife, and it turns out every single person I talk to is so excited to say, "Oh my God, have you seen Call My Agent yet?" It's a French. It's a French show.
I heard about it.
It's like a dramedy. It's mostly comedy, but it's a 1 hour, and it's got a lot of, it's got a lot of drama to it as well. But I mean, look, the French are annoying, and I can't. And when you think of French, you don't think of good comedy, but the cast is so fucking good. The writing is amazing, and it just draws you in. It's the kind of thing where it's not that often that I get lost in a TV show and I forget that I'm watching a TV show. This thing draws you in and holds you. A lot of big laughs. Excellent show.
Wow.
It's on Netflix. Yeah.
All right, I got to watch it. You know what I did do this week?
And that's, by the way, laughing while reading subtitles, which is hard because comedy is so much about looking at the face of the person.
I have a theory, though. As you know, I'm doing a project with subtitles or trying to get it off the ground. I have a theory. I laugh harder at subtitles in a weird way. There's some layer that's added, obviously, literally, but that I give them more credit for being funny. I don't know why. When it's because also could be timing of it. Like you hear them talk for a while and you don't know what they're saying, and then you read it. It's kind of like saying, like, what did he say? He said to go fuck your mother. Like in other words, there's almost that layer to it.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I give more credit, and I'm not criticizing it. I find I'm more generous with how impressed I am with humor if I'm reading subtitles. Maybe part of it's being, it's my ego. I don't like that this culture would be less funny. I don't think so, though. I'm very much enjoying it.
So in other words, you're reading it, and your own delivery you're making up in your head is better than you think the actor would have been giving himself.
You said that, and that does not capture what I'm trying to express.
They're French, so you'd probably be right.
Maybe.
Did I tell you about my French neighbor?
No.
Oh, my God. I got this guy who lives next door, and he's subletting. It's like there's like a duplex next door, and it has a big window on it. So it's like a fishbowl. I can see in this guy's apartment all the time.
Yeah, especially when you're looking into it.
Well, when I'm doing dishes, I'm literally looking out my window into his apartment.
Oh, that's all the time. Go ahead.
I do a lot of dishes. He's First of all, he's French, and he's fucking beautiful. He's got long, wavy hair, blue eyes. He looks like Jesus. Got the little beard. And he has decided that he's going to be Johnny. You know how the French come to America and then they buy cowboy boots and jeans, and they just like they do dress up. They play American while they're here.
Yeah, I've seen bad characters on sitcoms before. Go ahead.
So he has decided he's got the skateboard, he's got the surfboard. Every morning while I'm walking my dog, he's skateboarding back. He goes to Erewhon, which was the fucking obnoxiously hipster grocery, and he skateboards down there, and he's always coming back with his special fucking coffee, and then he bought a beach cruiser, and he rides to the beach with the surfboard, and he's always got chicks coming by, fucking smoking hot chicks that are driving like BMWs and Porsches, and he plays guitar. The worst guitar player I've ever heard in my life. He doesn't strum. He plays leads, but they're like French leads. Like he's trying to be artistic, but it's fucking terrible. And he cranks it up on the amplifier. And then he has these parties where beautiful people show up. Just the right amount of black people. It's like, who's casting this fucking party at this guy's house? And never say. The reason I'm angry is he's very French about saying hi. I say hi to him all the time, and he nods at me. He never says anything.
Well, come on, giving him a little, in his defense, he probably can't hear you over your sink water that's hitting the dishes and all the scrubbing you're doing. He's watching you wave and knock on your window, and of course he's just going to look back.
I want in. I want into his world.
Totally. You already brought up, you think it's because they're profiling and they don't need another white person in there.
Yeah. The French.
It might be your apron too that you wear when you wash dishes in your house,
or the beret.
That might not fly at his party.
Yeah. What'd you watch this week?
I watched. Wait, I was thinking. Oh, one thing I did. I watched. I watched the first 2 episodes. Sophie wanted to start The Sopranos.
Wow.
I could not be prouder. So I was like, you know how you go back, like if you ever go back and watch the pilot of Friends, it's garbage, and they even don't have the characters down yet. Like, the Jennifer Aniston was the dumb one, but they didn't figure out that Phoebe was the dumb one. Like they still were really, it was far from solidified. And you go back to other things and it's like, oh, like Seinfeld, season 1 of Seinfeld, dude, not that strong.
Yeah. It was called the Seinfeld Chronicles the first year.
Yeah. So, we watched Sopranos. So, all of a sudden the opening credits kick in right after the ducks, in the pool, the cold open.
Yeah.
And there's the shot from Jersey of the Twin Towers. I'm like, oh, and Sophie goes, are you always going to say, when you see the Twin Towers? I'm like, yup. Because, it's in the beginning of Friends also. There's the Twin Towers.
Oh, really?
The Twin Towers is all over Friends as even just interstitial bumpers going out of commercials and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, oh.
That explains why they flew planes into those things.
But it's like, I forgot it's not just the mom who doesn't make it to season 2 or 3. It's those Twin Towers also. Because The Sopranos started in 99.
Those 3,000 extras weren't in the next season.
Oh, Greg.
The other thing.
I watched a movie that was really scary called Little Fish. It's a romantic movie that was made a year and a half ago. I think they filmed it. And it's about a pandemic. And
really?
people are wearing masks, but the virus that's going around gives you Alzheimer's.
Huh.
In 2 forms, either a slow decay and irreversible. So what happens is all of a sudden you see the bassist in your band or your boyfriend not remember the song that he always remembers, and you're like, fuck. So it's either the slow decay or it hits you instantly. Anyway, they try to have, do a good thing with it in this movie. It's well done. But man, I just couldn't shake the sort of, it was scary in that way.
Wow. Well, that movie Contagion, people say was really fucking dead on. Like, the machinations of a virus spreading around the world were very accurate.
Well, the scariest thing I've read is like they talk to these scientists who now are stepping back for a bigger perspective. And almost all of them are like, we are so lucky that our fire drill was such a benign virus.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't Ebola. It wasn't the other ones just would have killed.
Oh yeah, the
so many
Ebola
people.
was like 5 times the death rate that this coronavirus was. Although
And
I
there are
shouldn't
other
say
ones that are crazy.
is Ebola a type of corona? No, right?
Why don't we just say we don't know and then we can't get corrected?
I also did we talk about Watchmen?
Yes, you've talked about it a lot. It's easing your white guilt. You like it.
Now, I think I might have that virus that gives you Alzheimer's.
And then I watched the Your Honor finale.
Oh, is that the one with what's his name?
Yeah, Bryan
Cranston.
Disappointing, but not bad. But they really, they could have done things differently. But I guess it would have meant like they didn't have to sew everything up. Anyway, I don't want to give anything away. It's a finale. So
By the way,
really
I asked for your passcode to Showtime. 3 different listeners sent me their passcodes.
That's so great.
At fitzdogradio@gmail.com. But I didn't use any of them. I'm going to use yours because I think what happens is when you sign up, they send you a code to your phone to verify.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
right.
The other
and
thing
we talked
is,
about we talked about
watched-
Fake Famous, by the way.
Fake Famous I watched, which you had talked about last week. And it really is amazing to me, like when I think about podcasts or social influencers that have blown up, like it's illogical that some podcasts have gotten as huge as they have. And the truth is, it's because they bought bots are fucking cheap. Buying a fake bot follower is fucking cheap. And the more you buy, like they talked about, there's only one girl that stuck with the program and continued to allow them to groom her to be a social influencer. And they bought her, say, 100,000 bots, but she now, I looked her up on Twitter yesterday, she has 350,000 now. And those are people that saw she had a lot, so they joined up. That's how it works.
Yeah, snowball.
And the advertisers, just all they do is they see how many followers you have, and all of a sudden they're sending you fucking products to your house, and then they're flying you out to Hawaii for a vacation, so you'll tweet about it. And so I'm going to buy some bots. I'm kidding. I'm not buying bots.
Well, instead of people sending us their password, just buy us some bots.
Or you can follow us. Follow at Gibbons Time on Instagram and Twitter.
Oh, I was just talking about the podcast, subscribing.
And follow me at Greg Fitz Show on Twitter and just Greg Fitzsimmons on Instagram.
So you're saying people had bots subscribe to their podcast?
Well, to their social media, which I think in turn promotes the podcast.
How about just getting bots to subscribe to the podcast?
Can you do that?
Well, no, Texas bots are going to join now. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah, you really fucking burned us in Texas this week. Why don't you pick the biggest state in the union and shit all over them?
Okay,
and then wonder
here I
why
come,
our
Alaska.
ratings don't go up.
Here I come, Alaska. See what I did there?
I tried to watch Kingdom, which somebody recommended. It's set in Venice Beach about this MMA gym. And I've never seen anybody capture Venice where they didn't have to romanticize it and make everybody gritty and everybody's got an alcoholic single parent and they go out and skateboard at 1 a.m. It's just, it was too Venice-y. I couldn't get through it.
Huh.
And also the main MMA tough guy is fucking Nick Jonas. Are you shitting me? He didn't even have a physique of a fighter. He's got saggy tits and a fucking tire.
So he hosted SNL this weekend.
How was he?
Well, truthfully, it's Saturday right now, so it hasn't aired yet.
Yes.
That show is sometimes live.
Why is he on it? Does he have something to promote?
Yeah, he apparently is all jacked up and looks like a fighter. So he wants to show that off live.
Speaking of sports, let's do some sports.
Do we really have to? Didn't we just cover it with MMA?
I just want to mention...
Sports.
Well, somebody named Auger Jacques wrote in and said, still trying to determine if Bucks won the Super Bowl because Tom Brady is great, or is it because Mike bet against them at the beginning of the season?
I'm going to go with the latter.
Australian Open is going on right now. By the time you hear this, you will know the winner of the women's finals, which as soon as this is done recording, I'm going to go home. I've recorded it, and I'm going to watch it. But
who's in the finals? Do you know?
Yeah, it's Naomi Osaka and Jennifer Brady. They're both Americans. Even though fucking Osaka calls herself Japanese, that's her, she plays for Japan, basically.
Oh,
Even
she
though,
does?
Yeah, she fucking learned it here. She grew up here. Her father's Japanese. What is it? Her father's Japanese and her mother's black? No, I'm guessing the mother's Japanese and the father's black.
Dad is Haitian and the mother's Japanese, according to Chris Denman, who always sees color.
Always knows people's races.
I'm going to trust him on this.
So weird.
Yeah.
But when she played Serena looked fucking great in this tournament. She dropped weight. She was playing defensively, which she never does, chasing balls down. And I happen to love Serena. She's my favorite athlete to watch. And she looked like she was going to take this tournament. She's a bad sport. Yes. Oh, yeah. You're the biggest McEnroe fan known to man on the microphone saying that she's a bad sport. That's fucking sexist.
I just like calling you out.
You can't handle a woman being aggressive. That's your problem.
No, McEnroe never, ever made an effort to appear like a good sport or to like sell themselves as wholesome and do the sheepish like, oh, well, man, it's all about niceness and fucking making hearts with your hands. He didn't do any of that shit. He was true. That's
why I like her. I like to see her fucking switch. I think people can be two different people. You think I'm like this in real person?
I'm giving her a hard time.
You think I talk like this in real person?
She's great in person. She's great.
So anyway, but then she came up against Osaka, and Osaka is the future of tennis. She is like Serena. She hits 120-mile-an-hour serves. She's got a fucking backhand that you just don't hit her a backhand. And she's young. She's really great. She's really great.
She's like a Mazda. I mean, what? She's like a Mazda, technically Japanese, but made in Kentucky.
So I have no doubt by the time you listen to this, you will know that Osaka won the finals, although I don't know who won right now.
All right.
So let's get to science.
Do we want to do science?
All right, let's skip science. Let's go to business. We're doing business.
Tell me which, because it depends which crinkle I do.
Oh, do business.
There we go. Business.
Yeah. Business is a much bigger section than science in the New York
Times.
Sure is. So the contest is on. We have set up, or I haven't set up, but one of the listeners set up a group on Investopedia, which is not an easy site to navigate. I'll tell you guys in advance.
So unless they're going to be a sponsor, maybe I shouldn't say anything.
Maybe you shouldn't say anything.
Okay, they're great and totally intuitive and makes totally sense because it has to be easy to find your way around it because a lot of people sign their kids up for this to teach them about business. Love Investopedia.
If you want to get on this group, and we're having a contest, this will go on until the 4th of July, and then whichever one of our listeners has made the most money in there, you get $100,000 in money. And then you play it like you'd play the stock market. So what you're going to do is go to Investopedia, and then you're going to scroll down to where it says Stock Simulator. It's halfway down on the left-hand side. Hit Get Started, and then when you get to it, you can search for different games. And you're going to look up the Sunday Papers Pod. That's what it's called. Search for Sunday Papers Pod. And then it's that easy. It's actually... Once you get to the page, it's really fucking easy. So
Did you see the rankings?
No.
Also very hard to find. I mean, easy to find. I think we have over 30 who have somehow found their way there very easily.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'm ranked 5th.
Nice.
And I have not invested $1 yet. So that just shows you what's going on. I'm still at 100,000 because I didn't pull the trigger yet, and I'm ranked 5th.
Yeah, I didn't either. I wanted to wait for our listeners to all get in on it. So do that this week. If you have troubles, email us at fitzdogradio@gmail.com. We'll try to navigate you through it, and we'll see who wins the most. Also in the news, A 90-year-old man spent $10,000 on 2 ads in the Wall Street Journal to
Love
tell AT&T CEO about his slow internet service.
It's the best.
It's the best because all of us, when we're on hold for the 4th time with a company, you just think, if I had limitless money, I would fucking do exactly that.
Yeah. And I know we brought this story up last week, but
Oh, did we?
no, we were skipping it, but we just kind of like gave a little mention because we had started to talk about it. But
Yeah.
he did. The best is, even with that, the CEO immediately, it was brought to his attention.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they had to address it publicly because his little ad generated a lot of publicity, negative publicity.
Meanwhile,
so-
you wrote an email to the LA Times that went into their fucking spam folder.
A biased reporter. Do you know in the last sentence she called the allegations true, without quotes or attributing to someone that it was,
Wow.
she told the true story. It's like, I think we just learned a lot about the reviewer.
Meanwhile, you have to categorically say they were untrue because didn't it go to trial? And it was
Yeah,
dismissed?
and you can say that the victim, the alleged victim, I guess, whatever, is claiming her truth. That's absolutely. She did not do that at all. She said truth.
Interesting. You want to read this next one?
Not really. I want to talk about Texas more. Okay. Which one? Oh, nah.
Okay. Let's go to, we have, you want to do an Ask Amy or letters to the editor? We got a lot of letters to the editor. Let's get to that.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Well, we can do Ask Amy next week. It's about political signs, which is kind of funny. We can do that next week. All right,
Jeff,
letters to the editor. Is that a section?
letters to the editor. That's a
Oh,
section.
I found it. I wrote a letter to the editor. Go ahead.
Jeffrey Nelson says, I have a first of its kind comment for Sunday Papers. Mike was right about something medical.
Oh, boy.
When taking medicine by swallowing it, the drug goes through the liver for initial metabolism. When absorbing it under the tongue, it bypasses the first pass metabolism and hits you faster and harder. We use this in hospice a lot to give people that can't swallow concentrated doses of morphine for pain relief.
Yeah.
So I guess snorting is just like putting it under. I bet you snorting is even better than putting it under the tongue.
I bet you're right.
But how do you get
And,
old people to snort morphine?
Right. But of course I got this right because last week, as I said, I snorted Adderall and then I read 60 articles about it. You
Dude,
think I'm going to get it wrong?
If I worked in, and this has got to be a phenomenon for people that work hospice, is taking the morphine. You're alone with a dying person, sometimes for weeks, and the family visits for an hour a day, and the rest of the time you're watching fucking Maury Povich and listening to a heart machine. Of course you're going to take the morphine.
Okay, so I have a jar full of morphine pills, like 12 feet away from me. If you want some, I gave, of course, one of our friends who's also a book writer. I gave him a bunch. He enjoyed. But
How did you get morphine?
From my hip surgery.
Oh, gee,
So
I
they
didn't know
gave me a
that
lot
out.
for the initial pain, but I really
Damn.
didn't take a lot. So get this though, when I did take it, it did relieve the pain. But I took them when I went backpacking because you get up there and it's like 60 pounds on your back, and it's too much. I bite off more than I can chew, and I took them, and it didn't really work, and it kept me up, and it was not enjoyable.
When I was 18, I backpacked my way through Europe for 6 months. And when I got to Denmark, I had developed an ingrown toenail that got so infected that I had to have surgery. I had to have
That's
fucking
fun for your neighbor in the hostel in the lower bunk.
Yeah, right. And so I go in and I get surgery. And luckily, I knew a guy. I had a friend of a friend that lived in Denmark. And Henrik Hess. And I stayed on his couch. And they gave me a fucking gross of morphine. And I laid on his couch for a week straight. And they were playing Dallas reruns in English. And so I sat there on morphine. It may be, other than the birth of my children, it may be the greatest experience in my life. I fucking love morphine.
Well, I told you when my shoulder broke from that horse accident, which is a whole thing. Anyway, we drive to the emergency room, And it turned out the break was on the arm, right below like the ball of the bone going into the socket. So if I move the arm immediately, I mean, even like a fraction of an inch, peripheral vision would start to go. It just wanted me to shut down. Until I then froze again, I would not pass out. So I figured out I put my thumb in a belt loop. Anyway, go into the emergency room. The guy's like, okay. And I'm like, literally was like, you cannot touch it. You cannot touch it. And he goes, okay. He goes, so what we're going to do is, and he hooks me up to an IV. And he goes, what we're going to do is we're going to take you in the other room and we're going to x-ray it in a couple of positions. And I go, I don't know how many times I have to say this, but this is in one position. And that's all it's going to be in. Can you just fucking put a sling on it? And he just laughs. And he's like, okay, so that IV in your arm right there has morphine in it. And I don't think you're going to have problems putting your arm in different positions. And I'm like, I don't think so. Cut to not even 5 minutes later, I'm flexing. I'm like, you want to which way to the beach? That way? Over my head. Right. I'm like, how many pictures do you want to take? I was in ecstasy.
Yeah, that IV in your arm is morphine in it. I don't think you can have any problem sucking my dick in about 7 minutes and remembering nothing.
My girls were like, this is the best mood we've ever seen Daddy in.
God, my arm feels better, but my jaw is fucking sore. What the hell happened in that doctor's office?
Yeah.
So I went off on Tom Brady for taking almost $1 million in PPP relief from the government.
By the way, we incorrectly said it was for his charity. It's for his sports company.
Right.
Sports.
No, I mixed. There were two stories. One was that he took money from the Best Buddies to start his foundation, which is another foundation. And anyway, so De Niro apparently is guilty of the same thing. De Niro's worth over $500 million, and yet he took loans from the government totaling upwards of $28 million for his restaurant chain.
Yeah.
At least he's got legitimate businesses that actually hire people, so you can see that there might be some coverage for that, but it's still something he probably could have covered out of his own pocket.
Right, but I guess the point being what? Yeah, both sides do it, of course.
What do you mean both sides?
Well, this guy, I don't know. It seems like it's like, hey, the other side, meaning liberal.
Oh, I see.
De Niro is famously outspoken against Trump,
right.
And Brady is famously outspoken pro-Trump.
Right.
I guess that's this guy's angle.
Well, no, I just think it's interesting that, that celebrities in general are, they're run by their accountants and their lawyers. They don't I don't think De Niro woke up one morning and said, I'm gonna call the government and get some money. They've got accountants that are saying, look, we're looking out for your bottom line at all times, finding you the right investments, finding you the best tax shelters. And in this case, you are technically eligible for government assistance. At which point De Niro should say, bad optic. I'm worth $500 million. Don't worry about it. Let it go. And instead, he took the money and then apparently was reported as lamenting the need to slash his spending. It was reported that he cut his ex-wife, I can't read because Christopher's writing underneath it, Grace Hightower's American Express limit from $100,000 to $50,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's tough. $100,000
$50,000 a month. How's she going to do it?
Can you imagine having that much money to spend? Shit.
And, by the way, same with Tom Brady. What would we say? He's worth $200 million. But none of these guys are really worth that much usually. Like, for instance, I'm going to guess the estimate of $500 million for De Niro is factoring in his thriving restaurants.
Right. Yeah.
Which immediately are not in play if you're going to tease this math out and see, would they have gone under with that blah, blah, blah. So anyway.
All right. So this one comes from Mike in Pittsburgh. He says, hey, Greg and Mike, when Fitzdog forwards this email, the Sunday Papers is so great, I'm giddy every Sunday when the new episodes comes out. We're 3 weeks away from your 1 year anniversary of the podcast. What about having your producer, Chris Denman, on as a special guest to celebrate? We tried that. And Chris, he fucked up the technology. And didn't we lose all the audio on the show or something?
Well, he wanted to do it from the rotunda in the Capitol.
That's right.
And the Wi-Fi was out.
Yep. And his backdrop, I think we couldn't get clearance of a swastika from YouTube.
Hold on, I got distracted. I'm looking up. I wanted to look up.
Chris is now writing, glad you guys got that email from my mom's parody account, Mike in Pittsburgh. Yeah, maybe we should have Chris on. Should we have by the way, our 1 year anniversary is not until March 16th. We did say this is our 51st episode, but that's because we did a bunch of Thursday papers, which added to the number. But March 16th, we're going to do a combination 1 year anniversary St. Patrick's Day episode. We're hoping to do it live somewhere, but we're still hammering out the details.
I didn't really hear that. Did I just commit to something?
You don't commit. I commit, and then we don't do it.
Okay.
All right. Daniel Goodman. I don't think Mike's stories are too long. What makes them seem long is the constant
He won't say
breaks.
that now.
The constant breaks to add in his fucking disclaimers. Since football is over, maybe you guys can bet on the over-under on how many times Mike says, by the way.
Huh.
Mike's the
BT
smartest
Dubs.
Mike's the smartest dumb person I've ever listened to. Have you heard that before,
thank
Mike?
you, says the dumb part of me, I guess.
Well, I didn't notice you say I guess you do say by the way. But I find that when you say a by the way, it ramps it up. I think you're a great storyteller. And when you say by the way, it's something that is insightful.
Hey now. That's what I'm going to change. That's what I'm going to swap in for by the way.
That's my thing.
Oh, sorry. All right.
Jonathan
Damn it,
Berm.
I'm trying to find fucking the jokes for De Niro. He read so many good ones.
Jonathan Berman says, I enjoyed your waxing nostalgic about New York City bars. Curfew time is 4 a.m., not 2 a.m. Also, Patty O'Reilly's has killer, loud music. Black 47, remember? And
I had my birthday there.
You had your birthday there, and we hung out with Joe Strummer from The Clash at Patty O'Reilly's one night. You remember that? Of course you remember that.
Absolutely.
One of the greatest nights of your life.
Fish handshake, but I went with it. And then he just wanted to keep talking, and I kept kind of like shitting on my long stories. I was like, cool. And he's like, hey, what do you do? And he like kept striking up conversation. Eventually, I'm like, dude, I got to get back to my friends.
I remember watching you, and you just looked like you were in heaven. And
I was in heaven.
But they actually, he produced Black 47. So that's why he was there watching them that night.
And
right? Weren't we there to see the Black 47?
We were totally there to see Black 47. He knew they were the best. Vince Kelsa, the DJ at the time, very,
from
very
K-Rock.
alternative. He's like, they're the best unsigned band in the world. The other reason Strummer was there was he was fronting the Pogues. I mean, what?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because Shane was in the hospital with alcohol. He caught a little alcoholism again. And so Strummer the next night was fronting the Pogues at the Beacon, which I was going to.
Wow. That's
Yep.
awesome.
It was really great. It was quite a week because also, what's the name of the band? Of
The
Mick
Bee
Jones'
Gees.
band. No, Mick Jones' band. Oh, I'm spacing on it.
Big Audio Dynamite.
Big Audio Dynamite, same week, downtown New York in an industrial club played, and I saw Strummer there because he was in town, and that's what we were talking. That's what we were talking about a lot.
Wow.
Strummer went to see Big Audio Dynamite, and then this is fun for anyone under 40. Anyway, and then that's what Strummer and I were talking about. That I had seen him the night before. And he was just so generous with his praise for Big Audio Dynamite.
Yeah. Wow. They're a fucking incredible band. Alana said, just letting you know that I think you're both very funny. You crossed a line in yesterday's podcast when talking
where?
about
interested.
The woman who was able to hug her husband for the first time in months. These are the people who are suffering the most during the pandemic. Remember, there was like a thing where you have to wear a space suit and then you can hug somebody who has corona. It's absolutely tragic what is happening with the isolation of the elderly population. Well, if we cross the line, I am so not sorry. This is the last place you can fucking speak freely. Stand-up comedy and podcasts. Alana, I appreciate your listenership, but if you're going to call us on crossing a line, you should be listening to Mark Maron talk about his cat.
Alana, did you ever for a second think we were anti these people? Honestly? So they wore a body condom, and I think she might have jerked him off. Do you think any of this was rooting against this poor old couple?
Now, the coronavirus, when you put somebody in a spacesuit and they have the coronavirus, they die faster. Granted, they're hugging a loved one, but they're also inhaling their own dirty virus.
And Alana, you don't think you can get over it when the husband, who has dementia, is so over it? He was over it 5 minutes later. Didn't take it personally.
Now,
Didn't really recall it.
As a counterpoint, Seth Philbin wrote in and said, I rather enjoyed the discussion of frontal temporal dementia on last week's podcast. As it turns out, my father died of that exact disease 2 years ago at 57.
Oh.
He was foggy and off for years before anyone noticed anything serious. The first red flag was his speech. It was stunted, and he had trouble completing sentences or remembering names. By then, it was too late.
Sorry, these sounds I'm making, I just keep seeing the Twin Towers. Go ahead.
Anyway, I love the show and hope to hear more jokes about dementia. Everyone I know is too scared to joke about it.
Oh, you forgot to do them.
A few months back, you guys had a headline related to Alzheimer's, and you both riffed on it. The jokes were okay, but goddamn, I was glad to hear them. My father was a big fan of comedy, and although he didn't know who the fuck you guys were, he'd appreciate the mediocre jokes all the same. Love you guys. Take it easy.
That's it. I mean, this is you want to find okay and mediocre jokes about dementia?
That's right.
You don't go to Marin. This is where you come.
When you want the middle, you fucking head halfway up to the top, and then you stop it at Sunday Papers.
We got them.
Lastly, forget this last one. Let's do Yeah, we got to do obituaries this week. Holy shit.
And that's all, folks.
Okay, hold on. That's a section of a paper. I see dead people.
He died. It should have been from embarrassment, but it was from lung cancer.
Should have been from drugs.
The Rush Limbaugh show, syndicated on hundreds of radio stations, was the top-rated U.S. radio talk show at one point. Limbaugh was widely listened to by the conservative radio audience, which named him the most trusted news personality in America in a 2008 poll. Trump, he loved Trump, and he was pro-America, pro-conservative. He delivered all his monologues with a smile, a biting joke, and a wacky sound effect. Yeah, what a fun guy. He literally opened the door for Fox News, Breitbart, Newsmax. He was the guy that came up with the idea that, hey, we'll just make up horrible shit, be venomous, and try to create more conflict between both sides of the country. The invention of
I'm just reading some of these stats on his drug addiction while, it's the hypocrisy, which you find it on both sides. But the real criminal hypocrisy, like, don't even get us started on jails contain more from the right or the left. I mean, just look at this past administration. And I don't know how he escaped jail, Rush Limbaugh.
Well, he basically was addicted after coming down on minorities and poor people for having drug problems. It turns out this guy was fucking inhaling prescription drugs that he didn't have prescriptions for. He had his undocumented maid picking up drugs for him while he was getting on the air every day, all doped up and going after the fucking weak that were taking drugs.
In fairness, it's a little unfair for you to call her maid. That's not what he called her. He called her mule.
It was weird that he made her put the drugs up her ass. She wasn't crossing a border.
No.
It was unnecessary.
She's crossing the living room.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Also, swallow this balloon full of powder.
Oh,
I'll get it on the other side while you do the windows.
Yeah. By the
What
way,
the
I
hell?
should say allegedly. I have to say allegedly because who knows? Who knows what the truth is? You know,
I don't think we say allegedly when we talk about her jamming drugs up her ass and crossing the living room. I think that's even misleading.
He came up with phrases like feminazi, and he, by the way, was also a guy that poo-pooed lung cancer, who said cigarettes do not cause lung cancer and you won't die from them. And then he died of fucking lung cancer at 70. Good riddance.
Called Fauci a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, he also told
Birther.
he told an African-American caller to, quote, take that bone out of your nose and call me back. He was like the biggest conspiracy theorist about Obama not being a U.S. citizen by birth. He
All right, hold on. Wait, can we go back to the bone in the nose?
yeah.
Okay. It doesn't. Can he continue his call with the bone in his nose? Like, I understand. Why don't you take that dick out of your mouth? I can't hear you. Like
Yeah.
that tracks.
Right.
For something to be funny, it kind of has to track. But
Yeah.
I hear this, and once I get over the initial gut punch of the severe racism, I'm like, wait, but that doesn't even make sense. Is the African American talking through his nose? Maybe the bone was hitting the microphone or the the phone.
No, what it is when people are blowhards, people don't really do the math. They just like that they're being, maybe we're guilty of this too, is they're not being politically correct, so it's just funny that they're talking. It doesn't matter that the math computes in the joke.
Yeah, I think when you're lazy and not funny, maybe that happens more. I don't know. But yeah, the Obama thing.
He also did a thing where there was a law student, woman named Sandra Fluke, who advocated before Congress for birth control to be covered by insurance. Limbo called her a slut and a prostitute for her public policy views.
No, and a lot of women listen to him all the time. You know, his quote, feminism was established so as to allow unattractive women access to the mainstream of society.
Yeah.
I just want to read that one because sometimes, he was on the right side of an issue. In fairness, Greg, we're doing a balanced obituary.
Yes.
God love him. God rest his soul. He's dead. We can't talk about him this way.
I know. We're going to get so many letters from people that were Rush Limbaugh fans. And I hope that, I hope we haven't offended you in any way.
He was up to 30 pills a day, according to the National Enquirer, which broke the story.
And she would get the pills from a mom and pop pill mill that was busted earlier this year.
Wow. And then he's busted. And there's drug trafficking involved.
Yep.
And him being this illegal drug addict. And he took a 5-week leave from his radio program to enter rehab. And blamed
it on back pain. This is what I love. When rich people get hooked on drugs, they say it was back pain. Oh, I got back pain from playing golf. Poor people get hooked on drugs. Why? Because of cyclical racism and the inability to rise up out of the ghetto. Isn't that?
We didn't ask you how you were exposed to them. It's kind of like, I blame my alcoholism on someone threw me a beer during a football game once.
Yeah,
It's like, we don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Stop drinking.
All right. Hey, I need to cheer up, Mike.
Hold on. I have a section just for that.
It's the Sunday Funnies. I've gotten a couple notes about Blondie. One guy, Charles McClellan, wants to tell me that the voice of Jane Jetson was famous for playing another cartoon icon. Penny Singleton also played the Jetsons' mom, Jane. I guess it was a Blondie show. And then Stephen Blackwood says, in Family Circus, the blonde kid is Billy. The redheaded boy in the Scribble Scrabble strip is Jeffy. You keep insisting to Mike that he was Billy. By the way, the daughter's name is Dolly. You getting all this, Mike? Are you jotting this down?
No, I'm confused. I'm back on the Jane Jetson. I think you told us the voice of Jane Jetson also played Jane Jetson.
Oh, also played Blondie.
Ah, all right. No, and
that's
don't
what
repeat
he
what you
wrote.
just said. I don't care. Huh?
Oh, yeah. Who cares? And then somebody else had a bunch of Stephen Blackwood. Oh, I guess also he was talking about Blondie debuted in 1930, and the cartoonist Chick Young he created Blondie, and originally she was this flapper, which we've talked about, and that Dagwood was
Fluffer?
Dagwood was a son of a tycoon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember last week she was hitting on him. Flirting with Daddy.
Yeah. Dagwood went on a hunger strike in order to marry Blondie in one of the early strips. And Dagwood and Blondie scandalously slept in the same bed. This was like the first time a comic strip had depicted a married couple in the same bed back in 1934.
Well, yeah. It's the first time they depicted breasts like a shelf also.
Jesus, don't even get me started.
Oh, I don't have to, I don't think. All right. Geez, there's a lot of Dagwood letters.
The strip caught flack for using a dirty word in 2004. With their relatively trivial subject matter, comic strips rarely have the potential to offend. A 2004 Blondie entry proved to be an exception. In the strip, a character used the word scumbag to describe a baseball umpire. Mr. Young and his proofreader apparently unaware that scumbag is a euphemism for a used prophylactic.
Right, but I've been through this with television censorship, and you can make an argument for scumbag based on its origins and not its new euphemistic uses.
Well, there was another. What was the origin of it?
It's dirty. It's basically dirty as scumbag. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head something about maybe it's on a hose and it filters out. I don't know. I should just say I don't know. But there is a technical explanation. It's non-sexual.
Let's start off with our friend Andy Capp, America's favorite husband, or England's favorite husband. He's saddled up at the bar. This guy's been married to Flo for how many fucking years? All she does is stand in the kitchen and make his dinner and then collect him at the bar, only to find he's saddled up next to this woman, and he says, "So you're an actress, sweetheart. Tell Andy about all the theater." And then the bartender goes, "Flo entering stage right, Andy." And she's walking in with a scowl on her face. Like, you motherfucker. And then you're going to have the guts to punch me in the face later after this.
Am I just realizing he refers to himself in the third person, which look how little he is, and tell Andy all about the theater.
It's such a perverted stepdad line. Tell your new daddy about the theater.
Oh, okay.
It's such a Woody Allen line.
Oh boy. Did we already talk about Woody Allen? All right, go ahead.
The Lockhorns. Leroy is looking at a picture album and says to his wife, who he lives with and will be getting into bed with that night, points to the picture and says, "The camera always adds 10 pounds. So how many cameras did you use to take this picture?" It's like Leroy can't help himself. He could think that joke, but why say it out loud?
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of variations kind of on that. So when I was reading it, I was expecting the camera always adds 10 pounds. How many cameras did you eat?
That's a better version.
That's what we do here.
So let's go down to Hagar the Horrible. Boy, all Hagar wants to do is eat, drink, steal. Oh, yeah, and rape. So they come into this castle, and this woman's laying in bed. She's got hearts all over her fucking negligee. And she screams out, "This is a nightmare." And Hagar's got a big smile on his face, and he goes, "Relax. I've seen sillier pajamas."
Wait, what did she yell?
This is a nightmare.
I think she screamed, "This is a nightmare."
Nightmare. No, that's how you spell it. Oh, that's the way I'm saying it. All right, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
penchant to say nightmare. That's when we do the Sunday Papers musical.
Apparently, Bert Kreischer also says nightmare because that was pointed out to me, and then a bunch of people jumped on it on the internet.
Right. Okay, we don't have to waste our time on this. It's two of the fucking kids. They have chairs and their toy cars are on a pool table, and the little girl's just sitting there doing nothing. And the boy, the little shitty redhead, he is touching his car, and he goes, I like this table because they built curbs for me to park at. Mm-hmm. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's not even a placeholder.
No.
Like that's, they say like, oh, there's no such thing as writing. There's only rewriting. Just get a shitty first draft out there that you'll keep. It doesn't count. Just get the ball rolling.
Get it rolling. Send it to some friends. They'll give you some ideas on it.
This isn't even the shittiest. Let me just put black marks on a piece of paper just so there's something there that I can. It's easier to start because I'm not starting from just white paper.
Yeah.
This isn't even worth calling black marks on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And then it would be so embarrassing if it were the first shitty draft. But you know what? That's what you set out to do, a first shitty draft. Now let's look at everything that's wrong with it, that it's wasting a reader's time, that it's wasting even the black mark ink. And let's do, no, this gets sent in.
Not only that, but I bet you Jeff Keane writes it, meaning he writes the blurb. The artwork he describes to an artist who now busts his balls. He doesn't know the punchline. He's just told, make a pool table, put Leroy and the redheaded girl and a couple cars. I'll take it from there. So this guy spends fucking 3 days because it's a pretty good picture. The pool table's nice. I like the coloring. The guy really understands how to use primary colors and their complements.
Okay.
And cute sneakers, the whole thing. And then he opens up the Sunday paper to see what old Jeff Keane did with it. He's got to blow a fucking gasket. This is the punchline to my art?
And never mind. How about the stupid kid? You play with cars. What are you going to do? Oh, I park them. You idiot.
Yeah.
You think hot cars? Hot cars used to have the big wheel. You think they also had, the hot cars parking lot. Definitely get your kid that, because after it goes whoop-de-whoop on the wheel, where do you go from there? I don't know. Let's up the fucking adrenaline and park the car. Stupid kids. Oh, the whole thing's disgusting.
What's disgusting is this motherfucker Dagwood, who is sitting in a fucking purple sweater on his chair.
What an idiot.
Here's the thing about this couple. The marriage isn't going well because Blondie's chair is faced directly away from him. She's fucking done. And so Dummy says, I can't believe you said that. Blondie says, stop yelling at me. And he goes, I'm not yelling. And she goes, okay, then I don't like your tone. And then he says, what tone would you prefer I use? Blondie then looks away to her newspaper and goes, well, for starters, one that agrees with me. That's right, Dagwood. There's no other side. There's no Dagwood side. There's hot fucking vixen Blondie side and you agreeing. Because somehow you trapped this woman into a fucking dead-end marriage and you should be thankful and supportive. They're not great thoughts. Nobody said Blondie's a genius, but neither are you.
That's a warning sign right there. I mean, that's trouble. That's trouble brewing.
No, I'm noticing that in a lot of the more recent Blondie cartoons is like they are laying the stage for a divorce.
That would be interesting.
Yes.
That would make headlines.
Yep. I like it.
She would do very well.
Mike, we've done it. We've done another 2-hour podcast.
Oh boy.
Do we plan to do exactly 2 hours?
Probably once I read that Texas article, I was like, give me 2 hours.
We never plan it, and I never look at the time, and then all of a sudden I look down with a minute to go, and we're at fucking 2 hours. Anyway.
We get paid by the hour, so that's why I would do it.
Let's thank all of our sponsors. Starting next week, we've got a new sponsor coming on, audible.com. We'll talk about them. We're very happy to have them coming on. Because
legitimately love them.
Yeah, we both use it a lot. We want to thank, of course, Midcoast Media, Chris Denman and Beth Hoops, who do an amazing job working on the show for us. And thank you guys. If you want to stay involved with the show, we're always looking for new logos to put up, as well as songs. We asked that if you write a song, it can't be a cover. You're not going to believe this, but YouTube flagged one of our episodes, and we almost had to take it down because the song was a cover. It has to be original music.
Which I'm going to argue.
Yeah. Mike's going to write another one of his famous letters.
It's clear First Amendment, unless they use the master recording, but clearly they changed the lyrics, and I doubt they used the master recording, so there is absolutely no leg to stand on claiming any sort of money for a parody that's not using the master recording.
Cut to a week from now, YouTube drops us entirely.
Especially if the song, hopefully they change the notes a little bit, but still, if it's a full parody with new lyrics.
We also want to remind you, all things get sent into fitzdog@gmail.com or go to Fitzdog. Also, don't forget, go to sundaypapers.net, and you can see a bunch of stuff from the show, and you'll enjoy that. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Ooh, boy, we're going out on a whimper.
You want to tell a joke?
Did you freeze? Did I tell last week the story when I watched, it's very short, but when I watched the Tom Cruise movie when he was a sports agent? What was that?
Jerry Maguire.
Did I tell you this last week?
No.
There's such snowflakes. We should check in on our snowflakes more, because we have daughters and a son who grew up on the west side of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And we're New Yorkers, and we just can't believe what snowflakes are. But also, this whole generation. So anyway, the very, very short story is we're watching Jerry Maguire, and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Pause. He's getting fired for writing that letter? You can't fire him. I'm like, oh, my God.
Yeah, yeah.
Girls, it's called the real world. And very often, you know how the squeaky wheel gets unwanted attention very, very often.
Yeah. The squeaky wheel gets taken off the car.
Like, that's what they've all been taught. Like, you absolutely write a disruptive letter that goes against your company if you think it's the right thing.
Right. Oh, that's
so
hilarious.
I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening.
Still going out on a whimper. Take it easy.
Take it easy.
Hey now, you don't have to read. Hey now, just listen and see. Hey now, it's time for us to go